Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the headlines and news from around the globe for Monday afternoon. I'm your host, Pete, and thank you for joining me. Before we get into all the stories, I would like to ask all of you, don't forget to like and subscribe. Be sure to hit the like button so that you can keep up with all the news I throw out there. And of course, if you want to give me a thumbs down because the news depressed you or I did something sucky, you can do that as well. I won't hold it against you. Now, that being said, let's get into the news and let's continue with what we were talking about last week because things are not stable, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into this first one. So, Germany has gone into protest mode, and this is interesting because it's workers, it's union people, it's farmers, and it is also the right wing and the left wing. Everyone's protesting, and they're having as many problems as we are. The truth of the matter is they have made promises to the people that, we will continue to be able to thrive and prosper after COVID, blah, blah, blah. And then the war broke out between Ukraine and Russia. Then inflation got very sticky. And now there are a myriad of problems these people are dealing with, and people are just getting pissed off. Also, the changes in their economic format, specifically they're going to a carbon neutral stance for the entire country, has really put them in a bind. Add to that the fact that Russia is basically no longer sending them gas because someone unknown blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. The folks there are suffering and they're having problems, so we'll see how that goes. So, during this last week, White House staff relocated after pro-Palestine rioters damage anti-scale fencing, hurl objects at police. They actually tried to jump the fence. The Secret Service normally will shoot you when you do that, but apparently they can do that. They'll only shoot one political group, not the other. For whatever reason, there was this massive riot, and if you look at that picture with all those people there, what goes on in the back of my mind is, dear God, if one guy had an explosive vest, if one person had some kind of device, he would have slaughtered hundreds of people. If a couple of dozen jumped the fence all at once and ran to the White House, they would have likely been able to get in and set off some kind of device. It just blows my mind that this wasn't crushed, like they just didn't come out and run everyone off. I don't know what the goal is here, but this is kind of concerning, and it's something that should worry all of us. I also think that the enforcement side of things is not being handled even-handedly, but that's just my opinion. Speaking of even-handedly, Chicago residents and city are angry at the city administration and are planning to sue them because they don't give a damn about us. So while Chicago's mayor is telling the governor of Texas to quit sending migrants up there, they literally have just passed 3 more laws expanding the sanctuary city policies. So let's think about that. Not the state, mind you. Okay, if the state did it and the city didn't like it, that's different. Nope. The city and the state have both expanded sanctuary city, but they're telling people not to send migrants there. That just seems contradictory. You'd think they do the opposite, but apparently no. Apparently what we do is pass laws that are to our own detriment and then complain about them. The logic here, I just don't understand. This is so stupid. Like, how did this even make the news? Is something out of the It's Not the Bee or something? Seriously. The Bundeswehr's possible scenario, NATO deploying 300,000 troops against Russian incursion by 2025. Now, obviously, they can't predict the future, although some of us would contest that they may be planning the future, but we'll digress there. So Germany, for the first time in a very long time, is not only amping up its military, it actually has troops in some of the very same countries it invaded in World War II, which is kind of weird. The Polish don't want their troops there. They're actually asked for American and British troops. And honestly, Poland's kind of pissed at the Russians and the Germans right now, but especially the Russians. So, they're taking a come at me bro approach. But in any case, is it good to see NATO doing what they're supposed to have been doing all this time? Yes. I think they've gotten soft and unfocused, but it just makes the point that everyone is escalating over there, and that can spin out of control. In the meantime, Newsweek reports that the Russian state TV pundit warns that life keeps getting worse amid the Ukraine war. Ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, those of you who watch me are like-minded for the most part, war is expensive. It is bloody. It costs lives. It costs a boatload of money and a boatload of lives, and it disrupts things. And Russia has been in this full-on war with Ukraine. Mind you, not deploying troops. Russian cities are getting hit. Russian infrastructure is being attacked by the Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians are getting hit by the Russians. This is not a light-hearted situation. And between the sanctions and the supply chain issues and the war itself, there's a lot of shortages. These people are suffering, and that's a good lesson for all of us. If we get into something here in the West, we will have the same problems. Going back, so Longview News Journal also reported tens of thousands marched in Washington on a global day of protest. So the protests you saw in Washington, D.C. did not only encompass the White House, they actually were at the Capitol, and they were at the capitals of multiple countries all over Europe, all over the West. There's a lot of pressure for Israel to stop operations. Israel is now of the opinion that if they stop, Hamas will just come back. So it's a catch-22, and basically Israel is saying, no, we're just going to blow the shit out of everything I think is related to them, and that'll be the end of it. Unfortunately, in the process, there are thousands of people dying, and it's become a disaster. Now, with the Houthis and the Hezbollah also getting involved now, things could spin out, but I don't think they have the reach to do that. Speaking of other countries, Biden says the U.S. does not support Taiwan independence after their vote. The U.S. position on Taiwan has been deliberately ambivalent in that they support it being independent but not independent at the same time, and all that does is agitate China. It kind of leaves China, and I think you think about it, it's actually a bit brilliant, because really nobody's saying one thing or the other. So China doesn't want to overstep, because technically nobody has said they're going to be independent yet. But at the same time, that's another situation. Now, there was an article out a year or so ago that said that it's in China's interest to get the U.S. stuck in 3 or 4 wars before trying to take Taiwan. So you look at Ukraine, you look at Israel, you look at now the Houthis and Iranians. Maybe one more. Who knows? 2024 is going to be interesting. Speaking of 2024, it started out with a freeze is what it did. Winter storms and dangerous cold weather bring warnings across the U.S. This is from the Wall Street Journal. Now, in my part of Texas, out in West Texas, we are in the single digits in the evening, incorporating wind chill, maybe the low double digits as far as base temperature. No precipitation, fortunately, in my part of Texas. Now, further north, the Panhandle, north of Lubbock, Texas, into Amarillo, Oklahoma, Kansas, you guys in New Mexico and Arizona, the northern parts of the state, are getting some nasty weather, and there's been a lot of wrecks. So, folks, prep and plan your trips. If you do not have to go, don't go. If you look at the map and it is covered in ice and breakdowns, don't go. This weather is not a joke. You need to be careful. Also going on regarding New York Post, migrants at New York City's Floyd Bennett Field are begging local residents for food. So they put a bunch of migrants in Floyd Bennett Field. Then when the weather kicked in, they put a lot of those migrants in the high school. We all saw how pissed off the folks in New York City were about that. But now the migrants are actually going to the neighborhoods because they claim they don't have enough food and they need money. Now, unfortunately, the next step is that if they're just running loose in the streets, and there's really no control, you could conceivably see people starting to break in. There's going to be crime. Because, I mean, what do they have to lose, right? They're not supposed to be here anyway. Who's to say they won't just walk away from the camp and go out on the street and go wherever? So it puts these neighborhoods in a really bad spot. I suspect there's going to be issues because of it. So moving on to financial news, the housing market supposedly starting to turn around. Now, we've been looking closely at both car and housing prices here in Texas. Sassy Southern and I both have been very interested in this market, and our background having rental properties and real estate kind of just made this uniquely interesting to us. We're not seeing the housing prices go down in Texas, but Texas is also a very high demand state. A lot of people are coming here. Now we are seeing a little bit of a change in the way the automobile market is acting, a little bit of price softening, and we are seeing a little bit of interest rate softening. But in order to get the good interest rate, you have to buy like a new car. Or they're little caveats, but the dealerships are trying to get creative to get those cars off the lot. I suspect there are going to be a lot of 2023s in the lot late in 2024, so you may find a deal, so keep an eye open. Market Watch reports, what's next for stocks as tired market stalls in 2024 ahead of closely watched retail sales. I don't know how good the retail sales report is going to be. Folks, my own observation, Black Friday, and it wasn't just online ordering. There were people across the board on Facebook saying, I'm not ordering stuff, I'm making my gifts. There were people not in the stores. We just didn't see the number of UPS trucks, the number of FedEx trucks, the number of Amazon trucks, and it may just be a local thing. I don't know. I suspect that the retail market is going to look kind of ugly when they compile all the numbers from last quarter, and if it does, that's going to freak out the investors for this coming quarter. So keep an eye on that. And speaking on that same subject, this restaurant owner from Business Insider explains why he charges $16 for BLT and why he thinks food prices won't get better. And the restaurateur makes a good point. He says, well, we've already increased wages. We've already increased prices to the restaurant, which just then passes it on to the consumer. He said, if the inflation goes the other way, the companies are not necessarily going to lower their prices as fast as the decrease may occur. I don't know if that makes sense. So basically he's saying the prices will not go down as fast as they came up, and so we're going to be stuck with these higher prices. Now that kind of blows my mind, because you buy a loaf of bread for $15, you buy a loaf of bread for $2, pack of bacon for $8 maybe, and then get some lettuce and tomatoes. Like, you can make your own sandwich for the cost of about $1 or less. So, but it is what it is, folks. So keep an eye on that. You may want to start cooking at home more if you are not doing so already. Speaking of food, Quaker Roots expands recall over possible salmonella risk. It originally was in the granola bars. It is now in cereals as well. So if you've bought any Quaker Roots products in the last month, go check the recalls and then check the products you bought and make sure they are not on the recall list. If they are, you want to get rid of them, or you can return them to the store for a refund. So if it's still in usable condition, I would just go back and return it to the store, and you'll get a credit or something else. But this speaks to the pressure the food processing plants and a lot of other companies are under. They're trying to do more with less because it is expensive. So, folks, a lot of mixed signals from the economy, a lot of softening in the prices, which is good, but unfortunately softening of prices also means things are not being sold. There may be a problem. So today's quote of the week, I do this real moron thing, and it's called thinking, and apparently I'm not a very good American because I like to form my own opinions. That comes from none other than the famous George Carlin, who I wish we had around today, because I think he speaks volumes to what we're all seeing right now. I can't tell you the number of times I've made a comment on the internet and have been cursed at, threatened, hit with racial slurs, the whole 9 yards. mainly from idiots who have a little penis as their emoji. I don't know what the deal is with that. But people don't handle disagreement well anymore. It's almost like we have created an entire society of agitated, infantile fools. So, I don't know what to tell you there, folks, but I do agree with Mr. Carlin. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, I always bring this up. Thousands of minors are trafficked weekly. Be aware of the signs and call law enforcement if you suspect a minor is in danger. The number is on the screen, 888-373-7888. Other things you should look for if you suspect abuse or trafficking. The victim typically will be younger, say between, and there is no minimum age, sadly, but usually younger than 16 or 17. They will show signs of physical abuse. They will be skittish. They will not make eye contact. They will look at another person or their handler for approval before maybe speaking to you if you ask them to hold the door or something. You will also see that they will not match the people they're with. So you may see an individual who clearly is not of the same family as the person managing them. Or you may see a group being managed by 2 or 3 men, and it's a group of girls who clearly are not related, or a group of kids who are clearly not related, and it's not a school trip. When you see weird stuff, and my examples are terrible this week, take note, talk to security at the mall, call law enforcement on the non-emergency number and see if somebody will come, and just tell them that is not right. I wish there was more I could say about this. It's just sad. In any case, ladies and gentlemen, as always, I'll do my little shameless pitch. If you are buying any of these products and it is on your budget to do so, and you'd like to support the channel, keep in mind I have a lot of discount codes from a variety of providers, ranging from ReadyWise to Wallaby Goods to 1791 Holsters and Palmetto State Armory. If you look at the link in my webpage or in my bio, depending on what platform you're looking at this on, you can find all of my consolidated links and you can take advantage of some of these discounts. As always, I'll give the disclaimer: if you're going to buy because it's in your budget and it's something you think you will use. Do not buy and spend money because a YouTuber or TikToker or whatever said, buy my crap. You guys know me better than that. In any case, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this week's summary of news and headlines from around the globe. I want to thank all of you for joining me again. You guys stay warm, stay safe, stay off the roads if you don't need to. I promise you, getting into a wreck is just going to make the first responders' lives so much more miserable. Be careful and be safe out there. And remember, plan your trips. This weather, especially where there's actually precipitation, it's not just cold, can be downright dangerous. It can be deadly. And negative wind chill factors, also deadly. So make sure you dress appropriately if and when you do have to go out. So folks, until next time, y'all be safe, be careful, and remember, most mornings of the week, I will do a morning live stream. I'll give you conflicts alerts, I will provide other updates, or I'll just talk about some topic that popped in my head that I think everyone really needs to have a conversation about. In any case, guys, be good, be safe, have a good night.